Time now for the Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.
Back to Bill Maher just a minute, because I wanted Aaron McGuire, our great friend, in our Mondays with McGuire segment. Bill Maher and Boss Hogg, as I call him, little David Hogg, the cherub of Parkland, who's the number 2 man at the DNC now, and they're having trouble with him there. But here he is talking with Maher about the way forward for the Democrats. Listen.
Right now, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who, even if they don't completely agree with, they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, that they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. And what's interesting about this moment is it feels like the two parties in some senses have flipped, where, Republicans used to be the judgmental assholes in many ways. And since many Democrats, despite us, I would say for most of us coming from the right place of wanting to do the right thing, we've created a culture where we say, well, if you say the wrong thing, you're excommunicated. And that's just not how human beings work. Nobody is perfect, but ultimately what we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, getting with a young woman or something like that, instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their 2 jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun.
Interesting. Now, how does that jive with Ms. Crockett, 1958? Jasmine Crockett, the new shining star in the Democrat ranks. Take a listen to this.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them.
That's enough. I'm good. That's good. We bring in Aaron McGuire. I mean, this woman can't stop with identity politics. I mean, it's the antithesis of what David Hogg just said. Aaron, good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning, Chris. Happy Monday. And look at Democrats. They're storming ICE facilities. They're talking about that the reason they lost in the election was because people felt judged. No, you lost because you're out of touch with the American people and your policy stuff. And these are the loudest voices in the Democrat Party. One who wants to burn it down from the inside, and the other who thinks it's better to argue popularity contest than policy. I mean, Democrats are a mess, but I thoroughly enjoy it.
I do too. David Hogg, gets this high five from Bill Maher. He comes in and looks like the cool guy. You know what young men want? They just want to concentrate on getting the action, going out and having fun and getting some side action. And, we got to stop being scolds, says David Hogg. I don't think the Democrats are capable of that. I don't think he means that. I don't think they mean that. Do you?
Well, I think what David Hogg is arguing there is that he needs the system to take care of their rent and their student loan payments and make it easier for men not to work in this country so that they can go and have a great time and be young. That's called being in college. You pay for your college degree, you have a little fun, you get a job, and then you grow up, Peter Pan. But David Hogg, who is now like the 25-year-old number 2 in charge at the Democrat Party, believes the priority for Democrats should be parties and sex and not policy positions that help the American people. It's astounding to me.
Yeah, he is right about one thing. They have driven young men into the arms of Republicans with their constant authoritarian behavior on speech and identity politics, like Jasmine Crockett. They don't seem like they're showing any signs of letting up. But Aaron, to your point, Trump is coming to the table today with prescription drug price solutions, with a huge deal with China, potentially UK last week. Like, real action is happening here now, substantive and fast. The Democrats just don't have anything. I think they're just rudderless, aren't they?
They are, and those are just 2 of the accomplishments Donald Trump has had in the last 48 hours. We are bringing home the last American hostage out of Gaza. hopefully within the next day or so. Diplomacy is blooming across the world right now, and it's with Donald Trump at the helm. He is going abroad right now. He is going on his Saudi trip to make sure that the United States influence globally remains strong, and that we are getting not only better trade deals with China, but lower prescription drug prices for American people. Everyday costs are going to go down. This is exactly what he promised he would do, and he's doing it. And where are Democrats right now? They are arguing about whether or not they are allowed to forcefully storm an ICE facility. They fly down to foreign countries to sip margaritas with alleged members of MS-13, and they want extraordinary due process rights for people who have already been adjudicated to get kicked out of this country because they're not here legally. If that's the policy platform Democrats think will win for them, they are sorely mistaken. And remember, there is a Democrat who won in a special election in New York State on immigration, but not on these radical left crazy immigration policies. No, they won on supporting Donald Trump's immigration policies, like securing the southern border. So Democrats think that this policy politics that they have will work with the American people. We've seen it lose, and we're going to watch it happen again if this is where they're going.
All right, but there's still another party to deal with, and you know them, the Republicans. These guys still have some work to do to prove themselves, I think, to voters, because as big a mess as Democrats are in, Republicans have to do something with the time they're given on the clock. And I think a lot of people are starting to get most people feel like Trump is doing a lot, but are Republicans on Capitol Hill helping? You told me a couple weeks ago when I asked you point blank, do you think Republicans can hang on in the midterms and keep a majority? You said, I believe you said no. Just historically, as a historical matter, you didn't think it possible. Could that change if they actually produce something, or even still no?
It's never impossible in politics. And one thing that remains true right now, steadfast, is Donald Trump changed the political calculus for every election we're going to look at going forward. He really upended how people behave in politics. Republicans have become lower propensity voters. The likelihood they show up is more into an on year, so your presidential years, than it is to a mid-cycle year or an off year like this. Democrats have shrunk their party, but made themselves the higher propensity voter party. So there's a smaller pool of Democrats, a larger opportunity for Republicans. So that's what you saw with the David Hogg comment about how men shifted. No, we opened up the Republican Party under Donald Trump to bring in new voters, those who had normally wouldn't behave or vote in that pattern. Now the struggle will be for Republicans to take those voters that Trump brought in, keep them engaged and active, and get them to turn out again in midterms. This is a whole new political game we're going to have to play this time because Trump did change the calculus. Now, headwinds will remain the same. Midterms have always been historically bad for the party in power and the party in the White House. We have such a small majority in the House anyways, and with the redistricting nonsense we saw in a lot of these Democrat-run states, you are seeing that it will be harder for Republicans to build on their majority, but not impossible, especially if we start delivering the policy wins. This week, they're doing reconciliation in the House. They have markups set for tomorrow on 2 pieces of that bill to keep it moving forward. We get taxes done, we get trade done, we get those big policy positions. It will be harder for Democrats to win, but they have the fortune at their back that, historically speaking, midterms would go in their favor.
I understand that conservatives have a healthy debate amongst themselves about what Trump is proposing with this lowering of prescription drug costs. I understand why, but Medicare and Medicaid isn't a fundamentally conservative notion either. My understanding is that what Trump's proposing will primarily impact the cost of drugs in those programs, Medicare and Medicaid, which is a huge, as you know, issue for senior voters. This is the thing in election after election after election, we hear about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and saving it, and drug prices. It's all any politician talks about generally because older folks vote. So what if Trump really does drive down the cost of drugs for older folks? And what if we really stop taxing Social Security? I start imagining Republicans being able to tell that story next year. I feel like that's the first of its kind for Republicans, at least in my political lifetime.
Well, right. Republicans normally, you don't touch the third rail of politics, right? Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Those are things that are so tough to work with. But what Donald Trump doing for prescription drugs by putting the lever on Medicaid to say, no, we will make sure that we get the best cost available for the United States so that not only people on Medicaid can continue to receive the drugs they need, but at prices that would make sense. And the fact that the United States has been overcharged for this long, it shows that people were more happy to bend the knee to pharma than they were to fight for the American people. So if Donald Trump is able to bring down the Medicaid costs on prescription drugs, that will force market prices down across the board for everyday consumers as well. It'll save taxpayer money and it'll help. That's such a great story to be able to tell the American people, because you saw Kamala trying to talk about that, right? They talked about insulin shots. They talked about trying to make, prescription drugs cost less. That's something that affects everyday Americans. It's the tangible things like the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the cost of paying your bills every day that are the messages that resonate most with the American people, because it's the life they live every day. You go to the grocery store, you drive past the gas station, you go to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription. These costs are real. And so to bring them down and to say, hey, we've saved you this much, it will be monumental for the Republican Party if we can hold it together. And that is a big if when it comes to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
How are you feeling about the big, beautiful bill? Going to happen?
They're on their way. Here's the thing. It's like flying. It's like trying to build a plane in the air. You're putting duct tape on. You're trying to shove windows in. You're trying to put seats in. And you're trying to land the thing successfully as well. So it is a bumpy climb up. It is a bumpy process through. We are in the messy middle of making a major legislative accomplishment happen. I'm still very optimistic that the big, beautiful bill will get done. What it looks like in its end, we don't know yet, because the Senate's version and the House's versions are very different. They're still going to have to go through parliamentary procedure in the Senate to get that final passage done. I mean, we are still very much in the thick of it. But the fact that we're getting closer, we're getting towards a markup, we're getting into committee work on these bills makes me very optimistic that we will have a big, beautiful bill signed by Donald Trump.
I saw her all over TV all weekend long, and she makes time for us on Monday mornings, too. The wonderful, the talented Erin McGuire. We are so grateful for your time every Monday. Thank you for spending it with us.
Always happy to be with you. Thanks, Chris.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel. Stay informed anytime, anywhere with the Salem News Channel and 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This has been The Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.